So you just told me about the whole passion for history and why you like history. Tell me that again.
Okay. History has lessons, I think is what I was talking about. Um,
Like, what do you like about it? I know that, say, for instance, when what war was fought. Um, some people get off on that, But
mhm.
what is it that drives you about history that you've been able to stick with it and absolutely love it for so long?
When we pan out and we don't look at like who was president at a certain date or what happened at a certain war, we can learn about the lessons of history. We don't have to we don't have to make the same mistakes, and um, we can learn about patterns that are helpful. And um, I think,
I see your history of philosophy being along the lines of some kind of a cognitive surplus and a gifting mentality that you're looking at it at a humanitarian. How can we make the world a better place through looking at history, kind of?
mhm,
Okay,
mhm,
and then you told me about a lesson that you taught because you're student teaching, um,
mhm.
and how well I'm going to kind of get you kick-started. You were talking about the kids reflecting on your teaching.
Yeah, when I got done at the end of the lesson, the students said, I was like, well, how did it go? What did you guys think? Did you have fun? And they were like, yeah, it was fun, but you're really hard, because they've never had to think about things before. It's been like read this lesson or listen to the teacher speak. And I don't teach. Like I was telling you, I don't teach. I just give them the resources and point them in the right direction, and then they figure out the patterns themselves. Like what I was telling you, we looked at political cartoons about imperialism. So there's racist images in there. It talks about Spanish American War. Um, but the students have to figure it out themselves. I was asking questions to sort of point them in the right direction, but then the conversation would go in a whole new direction based on what the students were interested in, where their passions were. Not every student was passionate um, about whether or not everyone in the U.S. agreed on imperialism. But when I said, "Do you think this image is racist?" everyone's hands shot up, because people are passionate about these things, about humanitarian
Right.
issues. And um, and then I bring it back to today. And are we racist? We've got political cartoons. The big issue today isn't the Philippines and the Spanish American War, it's the Middle East. And how are we perpetuating stereotypes? And if we're doing this in the past, and we look back in the past and we say, and we're if it's revolting to us, then why are we doing it still today? So that's a lesson from history,
Right.
not the fact that the Spanish American War
Right.
started in 1898, which it did, and I just happen to know that because I enjoy that. But what lessons did it teach us? Why did we do imperialism, and why are we still doing it today? If we look back on the past and see we've just given it a new name. It's economic imperialism. We've just given it a new name. And but if you look back, we have the gift of a historical hindsight to learn lessons, and that's what history does
That's
for us.
that's great. One last thing, you said something about wanting and thinking it would be cool to teach this way, but you had some specifics about why. So, can you remember what you
Yeah,
had
I
said?
don't want to make students take multiple choice tests. I think it's a futile endeavor. Like, I don't even like taking multiple choice tests, and I don't even know the answers, and I feel like a hypocrite, because those things aren't important to me. I'm the most passionate person about history, but I don't think it's important to be able to remember the names of the president in order. Knowing context, knowing what's happening, like just Spanish American War is on my mind, but just knowing what's happening in that context, not knowing that the Spanish American War started in 1898, that doesn't teach us anything. It's just a useless fact. We can find that on Google in 2 seconds. We don't need to memorize that anymore. Maybe we did in the past in order to know, to discuss the context, but now that we have the names and the dates at our fingertips, we can learn other lessons from it and learn context, learn about what was happening at the time and the patterns and what happened before that and what led up to it. Those are the important lessons. So I wish I could teach in a place where I didn't have to give a multiple choice test at the end of the unit or the year, where we could go off on tangents. If I discover that the class is really interested in social history, we could go off on a tangent on that and spend weeks on it if we wanted to. If they're all really interested in World War II, we wouldn't have to spend as much time trying to get to something that they're not interested in. Maybe they'll have time later in their life to learn about it. But to have all these rules, it's hard as a teacher to have all those rules because you would just want to facilitate a passion or teach people why history is important. Maybe they're not going to learn. I don't even remember everything I learned from my history classes, but if I realize that history is important, then I'll remember to look at history before I make a decision, before I go to vote. So that's why.
Thank you.